I'm Dr. Anthony Harper here, blessed to be here in Jerusalem again with Avi Lipkin here, and met with them last time talking about the Bible Bloc Party. So Avi, thanks for joining me.
Great to be back.
And so, share with our listeners about more about the Bible Bloc Party and what's developed since the last time I talked with you.
Okay, well, firstly, we have in our population of 7.5 million Judeo-Christians. There are 2 million Muslims, I'm not counting them now. There are about 7 million Jews and 500,000 Christians.
Okay.
And the 500,000 Christians, or shall I call them not Jews, according to the rabbinate, have absolutely no representation in our Knesset, in our Congress.
Okay.
And I think that's wrong. Having been born and raised in the United States on the lap of the American Revolution, no taxation without representation, I came to the conclusion that either I create a Judeo-Christian alliance party, love party, or if the hatred of 2,000 years is to continue, then at some stage the Christians who are hated by certain Jews and not given representation will form their own party, which will hate the Jews in the same amount as the Jews hate them. We have to put a stop to the hatred. So the purpose of my party is to love the Christians in Israel. We Jews are sovereign in our land, and as the sovereigns, we must embrace our minorities. The Christians are minorities, they're not represented, and I'm going to give them representation, God willing.
Okay, well, I've heard about some mistreatment of Christians by the extreme religious right.
Correct.
And I'm wondering how often this is happening here in Israel.
Well, I don't have the exact statistics, but I do know that there are people, especially from the United States, who are allowed to return to Israel by the law of return, that they have one Jewish grandparent or two Jewish parents, they're Jewish, but if they believe in Jesus or Yeshua, they get expelled.
Okay.
This is now beginning to happen also with Christians from Russia who have come to live here under the law of return. And without getting too much into the election results, I think many of the people in Israel switched their votes over to the blue and white party of Gantz because they are against what they are afraid is turning this country into a ultra-Orthodox theocracy, which will ban Christians and Messianics from the land of Israel.
Well, there are also some I might have concerns about how this relates to Israel becoming more secular. And that would be disturbing to a lot of Christians for Israel to become secular in light of Israel's history.
Yeah.
When they became more secular, then they had more problems and very serious.
Okay, now in politics, not only in Israel and not only in America, in America you have Democrats 8 years, Republicans 8 years, Democrats 8 years. The pendulum is constantly swinging back and forth. And that's one of the great things about democracy, and I believe in that. Here in Israel, what we had with the creation of the State of Israel was a socialist, secular-dominated leadership, and those who believed in God, the new immigrants coming in, especially from the Islamic countries, were really, really treated very, very poorly. But what happened was, over the last 50, 60, 70 years, the trend in the Jewish population was to become more religious, to become more traditional. And so today, what you see actually over the last few decades, since 1977, is a very strong growing alliance between the ultra-Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, and the traditional nationalists led by the Likud. And what has happened is now, if you do a balance of, you have 120 members of Knesset, and in the last 20, 30 years, the right wing and the religious have more than 61. But what is happening now is that you have a party called Israel Beitenu, Israel Our Home, of Victor Lieberman, and they're all nationalists. And many of them are traditional, but they oppose the hegemony of the ultra-Orthodox, which is basically delegitimizing everyone else other than them. So what's happening is there is now a split amongst those who are traditional and religious, those who are ultra and those who are more liberal traditional, and they are actually teaming up with the socialist and secular.
Wow. Well, it's a disturbing trend, not only do we see here, but in America, more leaning toward the left. And so regarding this and the election here that just happened yesterday, what do you see us going in regards to these issues?
Well, actually, driving here just now, I heard the 11 a.m. news, and Netanyahu just formally, officially asked Benny Gantz of the Blue and White Party to join the Likud in a national unity government. Now, the problem here is that Netanyahu is in lockstep with the ultra-Orthodox.
Right.
And Blue-White doesn't want, they could, under extreme pressure, form a government with the ultra-Orthodox, but Avigdor Lieberman is vehemently against the ultra-Orthodox, precisely because they are kicking out Russians. You have to remember, Avigdor Lieberman represents especially the Russian immigrants. And now the hatred of the ultra-Orthodox against the American and Western Messianics is now turning against Christian believers from the former Soviet Union as well.
Well, in this scenario, if he joined up with Gantz, couldn't he leave the religious party out? And with Gantz
they have made
Netanyahu win?
They have made an ironclad agreement that the right wing sticks together.
Okay.
So nothing is a done deal yet. In other words, there would have to be either Netanyahu stabbing the ultra-Orthodox in the back, or Gantz saying, you know what, we can't go along with this. We have very serious economic problems in the country as well. There's a very big hole in our budget. And if you look at where the money's going, a lot of it is going to the ultra-Orthodox rabbis and their yeshivas. And so there are a lot of people who are saying this has to stop. And the ultra-Orthodox are saying, you know, we want that money. And so it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to end up in another election within a year.
Oh, well, it did this in the last election. It took 6 months to have another election.
Yes, so the timetable is basically Netanyahu will have until November, or shall I say Netanyahu and the Likud. After November, Gantz will have 2 months till January. And if neither of them succeed in forming a government in January, then elections will be held within 6 months of that time, which would be May, June. So
the concern here is for a lot of, I know, Christians in America that are supportive of Netanyahu, that he would be the one that President Rivlin would choose to form this coalition first.
Yes, I think that he will be first to form. By the way, today is the day of the counting of the votes of the soldiers, diplomats, hospital staff, prisons, and so I don't know how much it'll affect the overall count, but only after tonight, in other words, as of tomorrow, can we really start looking at the coalition building, yes or no?
Well, I just want to encourage all those that are watching this to pray for Israel as never before. Very trying time for Israel, and wish you the best, the success of the Bible Bloc Party, and you know, the representation of Christians more in the Knesset is a really big issue, a lot of concern for Christians in America.
Well, I have also a point which goes into what is said in Greek eschatology, or the end times. And I've been talking about this in Christian churches for the last 30 years. And that is that the Muslim population is pouring into Western countries. This includes Canada and the US.
Yeah.
And of the Muslim populations, I would say from the information I have, 90% are peaceful, law-abiding citizens, 10% are terrorists. So if you have, I think, 20 to 30 million Muslims in the United States of America, 10% of that is 2 to 3 million. They all have guns. The mosques are armories. And if and when a war breaks out in the Middle East, like if President Trump declares war on Iran, there will be a war on American soil, and the terrorists in America will be going after Jews and their Christian spouses, genocide in America. Which means that I am expecting 10 million immigrants to come to Israel from the West. 6 million Jews and 4 million Christian spouses. Do you understand now why the Bible Bloc Party has a tremendous potential future?
Okay, right now we don't have even one Christian in the Knesset?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And actually, I'm a little disappointed. I love the Messianics, but there are about 10,000 voters. We got altogether 458 votes. Not counting the soldiers. So thousands of the Messianics, they knew about us in this election. They didn't vote for us. They voted for Netanyahu. They were afraid. I don't know who they voted for. But the point is that we cannot give Christians representation if they don't vote for us.
Okay.
And so there's some people who say, well, we're going to put our nationalism as Israelis first, and we'll put our Christianity or Messianism last. And, well, you know, I'm doing what I'm doing because I swore an oath to God to do it. I'm 71 years old. When God wants to take me, He'll take me. And until then, as long as I'm breathing, I'll keep working at it.
You know, if people want to get more information about the Bible Bloc Party, what can they do? Which website can they see?
Okay, well, my website is avilipkin.net, and people can write to me, and I will give them more information there. And also, we have tons of material on Facebook. I have 2 Facebook pages. Dennis Avi Lipkin is full with 5,000 friends. We have a new one, not so new, but we have about 2,000 friends there. That's Avi Lipkin and in the Bible Bloc Party. I have tons of material on YouTube's, Google search. I'm all over the place there. I've been working in English in the Christian West for 30 years.
Well, this is a concern for a lot of Christians in America about the presence of Christians in leadership in the Knesset in light of Muslims being there in a big way. So now that it's time for a Christian presence to be there more, even though it may not be as large a group, but they have and they deserve that representation.
Correct. Well, the Muslims who are Israeli citizens from 1948, these are about 2 million. And we have about 100,000 Arabic-speaking Christians, which is 5% of that. We have Russian Christians or non-Jews, which are about 400,000. So together, 100,000 and 400,000 is 500,000 instead of the 2 million that the Muslims have. And that 500,000 has no representation. That's what I'm trying to fix.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing, and invite you all to check out Avi Lipkin's website. And once again, that is avilipkin.net.
.net.
Okay. Well, thank you.